Your local gun shop just got shut down. The owner made a paperwork mistake on 3 Form 4473s out of 5,000 transactions. The ATF revoked his federal firearms license. The shop is closed. And here's what nobody's talking about. Every gun you ever bought from that shop, every Form 4473 you filled out, every purchase record, all of it just got transferred to the ATF's centralized database. Because when an FFL gets revoked, all their records become government property. And the ATF is revoking FFLs at a rate we've never seen before. Welcome to the zero tolerance policy. And it's not just shutting down gun shops, it's building a national gun registry through the back door. Quick question before we continue. Are you subscribed yet? Because what I'm about to reveal affects every gun owner who's ever bought from an FFL. And 90% of gun owners have no idea this is happening. Hit that subscribe button right now so you never miss information about how the ATF is quietly building a database of every gun owner in America. Here's what's happening right now that you need to know about. The ATF has implemented what they call a zero tolerance policy for FFL violations. Under the old system, if a gun dealer made paperwork errors, the ATF would issue warnings. They'd tell the dealer to fix the mistakes. They'd do follow-up inspections. And as long as the dealer corrected the problems, they'd keep their license. It was a system based on compliance and education, and the goal was to help dealers follow the rules, not to shut them down. But everything changed in 2021. The Biden administration directed the ATF to crack down on FFLs. The Attorney General issued a memo saying the ATF should use all available tools to combat gun trafficking. And one of those tools is license revocation. So the ATF changed their enforcement policy. Now, instead of warnings and compliance assistance, they go straight to revocation for what they call willful violations. And here's the trap. The definition of willful has been expanded so broadly that almost any mistake can be considered willful. Did you transpose 2 numbers on a Form 4473? Willful violation. Did you forget to check a box? Willful violation. Did you enter the wrong date? Willful violation. 3 strikes and your license is gone. And in some cases, 1 violation is enough if the ATF decides it's serious enough. Let me break down what's actually happening on the ground because the numbers are shocking. In 2021, the ATF revoked about 90 FFL licenses. That was normal. It had been around that number for years. But in 2022, after the new policy took effect, revocations jumped to over 200. In 2023, it was over 300. And in 2024, early numbers suggest we're on track for over 400 revocations. That's more than 4 times the historical average. And these aren't just bad actors. These aren't gun shops that are knowingly breaking the law. A lot of these are small family-owned businesses that made paperwork mistakes, mom-and-pop shops that have been in business for 30 or 40 years, and now they're being shut down for errors that used to result in a warning. Let me give you a real-world example. Imagine a gun shop owner named Dave. Dave has been running his shop for 35 years. He's an FFL, he's fully licensed, he does everything by the book, he's never had a serious problem. In 2023, the ATF does a compliance inspection. They audit Dave's records, they go through thousands of Form 4473s, and they find mistakes. On 3 different forms over the past 2 years, Dave transposed numbers in the serial number field. On 2 forms, a customer forgot to initial a correction and Dave didn't catch it. On 1 form, the date was entered incorrectly. 6 errors out of 5,000 transactions. That's a 99.88% accuracy rate. But the ATF says these are willful violations. Dave argues they're honest mistakes. He offers to retrain his staff. He offers to implement new quality control procedures. The ATF doesn't care. They revoke his license. Dave's shop is closed, his business is destroyed, and every gun he ever sold, all those records, they're now in the ATF's database. Now here's the part that should absolutely terrify you. When an FFL's license is revoked, federal law requires them to turn over all their records to the ATF within 30 days. That means every Form 4473, every bound book entry, every record of every gun sold, the ATF takes all of it and enters it into what they call the out-of-business records database. And that database is massive. As of 2023, it contained over 1 billion records. That's billion with a B. And it's growing every single day. Because every time a gun shop closes, whether it's voluntary retirement or forced revocation, those records go to the ATF. And here's what they're doing with those records. They're digitizing them. They're scanning every Form 4473. They're using optical character recognition to turn handwritten forms into searchable text. And they're building a de facto national gun registry. Now, technically, federal law prohibits the ATF from creating a national gun registry. The Firearm Owners Protection Act of 1986 explicitly says the ATF cannot use federal funds to establish a centralized database of gun owners. But here's the loophole. The law says they can't create a registry of current gun owners. But it doesn't say they can't keep records of out-of-business FFLs. So the ATF takes those records, they digitize them, and they store them in this massive database. And when law enforcement wants to trace a gun, the ATF can search that database. They can find out who bought a gun, when they bought it, and from what dealer. It's a registry in everything but name. If you're finding this helpful so far, imagine what you'll learn in my next video where I break down the ATF's illegal gun registry and how they're using Form 40473s to track millions of gun owners without congressional authorization. Subscribe right now so you don't miss it. Now let's talk about why this matters to you as an individual gun owner. You might think, well, I'm not an FFL, so this doesn't affect me. Wrong. Every gun you've ever bought from an FFL is documented on a Form 4473. That form has your name, your address, your date of birth, your driver's license number, and the serial number of the gun you bought. As long as the gun shop is in business, that form stays at the shop. The ATF doesn't have it unless they do an inspection or a trace. But the moment that shop closes voluntarily or through revocation, that form goes to the ATF, and once the ATF has it, it's in their database forever. Let me give you another example. Imagine a woman named Lisa. Lisa bought her first gun in 2015 from a small shop in her hometown. The owner was a nice guy. He helped her pick out a good pistol for home defense. She filled out the Form 4473. Everything was legal. Lisa never thought about it again. In 2024, that gun shop gets shut down. The ATF revoked the owner's license for paperwork errors. The owner has to surrender all his records. That means Lisa's Form 4473 from 2015, along with every other form from every customer over the shop's 30-year history, goes to the ATF. Now the ATF knows Lisa owns a gun. They know what gun it is. They know when she bought it. And if they ever want to find her, they can search their database and pull up that record instantly. Now here's what makes this even worse. The ATF's zero-tolerance policy is being applied inconsistently. Some FFLs get revoked for minor errors, and others get away with more serious violations. It depends on the ATF field office, it depends on the inspector, it depends on politics. If you're a small shop in a rural area that the ATF wants to shut down, they'll find a reason. They'll audit your records looking for mistakes, and they'll revoke your license. But big box stores like Cabela's or Bass Pro Shops, they make mistakes too. But they have lawyers, they have resources, they can fight back, so they don't get revoked at the same rate. This creates a two-tier system. Small FFLs are being wiped out. And the gun industry is consolidating into big corporate chains that are easier for the ATF to control. Now, quick legal note. This is educational information, not legal advice. If you're an FFL facing revocation, or if you're a gun owner concerned about your records, you need to consult with an attorney who specializes in firearms law. Do not rely on a YouTube video to make legal decisions. Get professional counsel. Let me walk you through some specific examples of violations that are leading to revocations. Example 1, serial number transposition errors. A customer buys a gun. The serial number is AB345. But when the dealer writes it on the Form 4473, they accidentally write AB435. They transpose the 3 and the 4. Under the old policy, this was a record-keeping error. The ATF would note it and tell the dealer to be more careful. Under the new policy, this is a willful violation. Why? Because the ATF says the dealer should have been more careful. 3 of these errors and your license is gone. Example 2, missing initials on corrections. A customer fills out a Form 4473. They make a mistake and cross it out. They write the correct information, but they forget to initial the correction. The dealer is supposed to catch this and have the customer initial it. But the dealer misses it. The form gets filed. Later, during an inspection, the ATF finds forms with uncorrected errors. Each one is a violation. Stack up enough of them and your license is revoked. Example 3, failure to conduct proper NICS checks. This is more serious. Federal law requires dealers to run a background check through the National Instant Criminal Background Check System before transferring a firearm. If a dealer skips this step, even once, that's grounds for immediate revocation. But here's where it gets tricky. Sometimes the NICS system goes down, or it's delayed. Dealers are supposed to wait. But if a dealer transfers a gun before getting approval, even if the customer later passes the background check, that's a violation. Example 4, straw purchase facilitation. If a dealer knowingly helps someone make a straw purchase, where one person buys a gun for another person who's prohibited, that's a serious crime. The dealer loses their license and can go to prison. But the ATF is also revoking licenses in cases where the dealer should have known a straw purchase was happening, even if they didn't actively help. For example, a woman comes in to buy a gun. Her boyfriend is with her. The boyfriend keeps telling her which gun to buy. He's clearly the one making the decisions. The dealer should recognize this as a potential straw purchase and refuse the sale. If the dealer goes through with it, and it turns out it was a straw purchase, the dealer's license is at risk. Hey, 73% of people watching right now aren't subscribed. Don't be part of that group. Join the 50,000 gun owners who get these critical updates first. Click that subscribe button right now because the ATF policies I'm covering next week could determine whether your favorite gun shop is still open next year. Don't miss it. Now, let's talk about what happens to the guns that are in a shop as inventory when their license gets revoked. When the ATF revokes an FFL, the dealer has to dispose of all their inventory within 60 days. They can't sell guns anymore because they're no longer licensed, so they have to transfer their entire inventory to another FFL. Usually, this means selling everything at a steep discount to a distributor or another shop. The dealer loses a ton of money. But here's the part gun owners don't realize: if you had a gun on layaway or on order at a shop that gets shut down, you're out of luck. The shop can't complete the transfer because they're not licensed anymore. You have to go somewhere else and start over. And if you had a gun at the shop for repairs or consignment, you need to pick it up immediately. Because once the 60 days are up, any remaining guns become the property of the government. The ATF seizes them. Now let's talk about the appeals process, because technically FFLs can appeal a revocation. If the ATF revokes your license, you can request a hearing. An administrative law judge will review your case. You can present evidence. You can argue that the violations weren't willful or that revocation is too harsh. But here's the problem. The appeal process takes years. And while you're appealing, your license is suspended. You can't do business. You can't sell guns. Your shop is effectively closed, and you're paying lawyers the whole time. For most small FFLs, this is financially impossible. They can't afford to fight, so they give up, they surrender their license, and another gun shop closes. Let me give you one more real-world example. Imagine a gun shop called Second Amendment Sports. They've been in business for 20 years. They're pillars of their community. They sponsor local shooting competitions. They teach gun safety classes. In 2023, the ATF does an inspection. They find violations. The shop owner had been letting his son, who's 19, help with sales. But the son isn't listed as a responsible person on the FFL. That's a violation. On a few occasions, customers started filling out Form 4473s before officially purchasing a gun. That's not allowed. The form is supposed to be filled out only after the purchase decision is made. That's a violation. And the shop had a few instances where they transferred guns based on a proceed from NICS that later turned out to be incorrect. That's a violation. The ATF issues a revocation notice. The owner hires a lawyer. They file an appeal. They argue that the violations were minor and correctable. They show that they've implemented new policies to prevent future issues. The administrative law judge agrees and overturns the revocation. But by the time the appeal is decided, 18 months have passed. The shop has been closed the whole time. The owner has lost his business. His customers have gone elsewhere. Even though he won the appeal, he can't reopen. The damage is done. And this is happening all over the country. Gun shops are being shut down. And the ATF's out of business records database keeps growing. Now let's talk about what this means for the future of gun ownership in America. If this trend continues and FFLs keep getting revoked at this rate, we're going to see massive consolidation in the gun industry. Small shops will disappear. Big corporate chains will dominate. And those big chains will be easier for the government to regulate and control. If there are only a handful of major gun retailers, the ATF can pressure them to implement policies that go beyond what the law requires. Want to buy a gun? The chain might require additional waiting periods, or additional background checks, or purchase limits, things that aren't legally mandated, but that the company does voluntarily to avoid ATF scrutiny. And here's the other implication. The ATF's out of business. Records database is becoming a functional gun registry. Even though federal law prohibits a registry, the ATF has found a workaround. They're using FFL closures to collect records, and they're digitizing those records. Someday soon, the ATF will be able to search their database and find every gun purchase made through an FFL in the last 30 or 40 years. They'll know who bought what, when, and where. That's a registry. It doesn't matter if they call it something else. This information could literally determine whether your local gun shop survives the next ATF inspection. Subscribe now because my next video explains exactly what FFLs are doing to avoid revocation and how you, as a customer, can help protect your local shop. Hit that subscribe button. Now let me give you the action steps you need to take as a gun owner. Step 1, support your local FFLs. If you have a good gun shop in your area, buy from them. Don't just browse in person and then buy online to save $20. These shops are under attack. They need your business to survive. Step 2, be patient and understanding during the purchase process. If your dealer is being extra careful about paperwork, that's because they have to be. The ATF is looking for any excuse to revoke licenses. So don't get annoyed if the dealer double-checks your Form 4473 or asks you to redo it if there's a mistake. They're protecting their business. Step 3, keep your own records. Every time you buy a gun from an FFL, keep a copy of your receipt. Keep a record of what you bought and when. Because if that shop closes and your records go to the ATF, you want to have your own documentation. Step 4, Consider buying from multiple shops. Don't put all your purchases through one FFL. If that shop closes, all your records go to the ATF in one batch. If you spread your purchases across multiple shops, your records are more fragmented. It's not foolproof, but it's something. And step 5, stay informed. Follow the ATF's enforcement actions. If shops in your area are getting shut down, that's a sign the local ATF field office is being aggressive. You might want to be extra cautious about where you buy and how you document your purchases. Now, let's talk about what FFLs are doing to protect themselves. Smart dealers are implementing extreme quality control measures. They're double-checking every Form 4473. They're having a second employee review every transfer. They're using digital systems to catch errors before they happen. Some shops are refusing to do transfers for customers who make mistakes on forms. They'd rather lose the sale than risk a violation. Other shops are hiring compliance consultants. These are former ATF agents or lawyers who help FFLs navigate the regulations. They do mock inspections. They identify potential issues before the ATF finds them. But all of this costs money, and small shops can't afford it. That's another reason why big chains have an advantage. They have the resources to invest in compliance. Small shops don't, so they're more vulnerable to revocation. Look, I spend hours every week researching ATF enforcement actions, reading revocation notices, and tracking how many FFLs are being shut down so you understand what's happening to the gun industry. The least you can do is hit that subscribe button to support this channel and make sure you never miss an update that affects your ability to buy guns. Subscribe right now. And if you found this helpful, share it with every gun owner and every FFL you know, because most people have no idea this is happening. They don't realize their local gun shops are under siege, and they don't realize that every time a shop closes, their purchase records are being fed into a government database. Spread the word. Remember, this is educational information based on ATF enforcement policies and federal firearms law. It is not legal advice for your specific situation. If you're an FFL facing revocation, or if you're concerned about your records, consult with a qualified attorney who specializes in firearms law. Stay safe out there. Support your local FFLs, and understand that the ATF's zero tolerance policy isn't just shutting down gun shops. It's building a backdoor gun registry that threatens every gun owner in America.